Hey, oh, what? Hey, what's up? I guess. Okay. Deck profile video, I guess. Yeah. So, this is gonna be a pure Dino deck profile for all you guys out there for the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! You know, everybody remembers that game, right? Because it was cool and edgy for all the hip kids back in the day at the lunch table. The school bully steals your One Piece hentai comic, and then you sent their ass to the Shadow Realm because they're pieces of shit. So, anyways, let's get on with the deck profile. Okay, so this is gonna be a Lost World Dino variant. Like I said, it's probably one of the better variants of dinosaurs, mostly because just the tokens alone. Yeah, we're gonna have a counter just somewhere if it fits within the budget. Anyways, Lost World generates a token, and the token basically protects your stuff as well too. Even though it's giving your opponent sort of kind of a +1, they can't really target any of your stuff, and they can't target any of their stuff as well too, which is actually pretty funny because that could stop some decks such as True Draco from targeting their stuff to tribute, because who plays that? Who plays True Draco? Terrible people, that's why. That's what. But anyways, why I say it's the most consistent version as well too, because you run several cards that basically do the same thing. Sullying Oviraptor functions as both a Lost World and an Armageddon Knight because it's your own fault if you get FTK'd. Fuck you. But yeah, I think it's probably one of the better, most consistent ones just because of Oviraptor and Fossil Dig pairing off with Lost World alone, because it's just so easy to facilitate this every single time, and the interaction with Lost World with Oviraptor as well too is pretty nice because of chain blocking, which is pretty spicy. But anyways, onto the rest of the deck list. What you're gonna run is 3 of your boss monster Ulti Conductor, because this guy is absolute madness. If Master Rule Full 4 did not come out, this guy would probably be hit in my opinion, because of his flip down effect is pretty fucking obnoxious. But anyways, you get to pop one monster out of the hand or on the field, and that could be any monster, it doesn't have to be a dinosaur monster. And you get to flip your opponent's monsters face down. This is a quick effect, but it's only in the main phase. It's really important that you guys know that it is in the main phase, because you can't trigger it in battle phase. And it's really important because I've had a few people try to Widow Anchor and trigger his effect, and they're like, why can't I do this? I'm like, because reading the card's a thing. But anyways, the rest of your dinosaur boss monsters, it's gonna be Dogran, the searchable kaiju out of the deck. It is so good. It's so good against Sky Striker as well too, because being able to search out something that you could spam out on your side of the field is very nice too, and you can easily run over it as well too, so it isn't too big of a deal. It's really good if they have a solo Colossus on the field too, so you could just kaiju over that and basically turn back on all of your adding effects as well too. Your other 2 boss monsters are gonna be Overtex Coatlis. Yeah, it's hooked on phonics, because good god, that spelling on that shit. But anyways, this guy's gonna add your double evolution pills. I've seen many posts where people play either 1, 2, or 3 of them. I mean, I guess that's the only real different variances where you can run it, besides 0. But anyways, 2 seems to be the most consistent variant of this, because if you see one in the hand, it's not entirely too big of a deal. You'll always have one in the deck, and you could just get rid of this somehow. You can even sometimes horde summon it with this deck, because you run 3 Conductor, and Miscellaneous Source banishes stuff, and so does Double Evolution Pill. So you'll be able to hard summon this guy pretty easily. I've did it like once or twice at a regional. It was actually pretty funny. So yeah, that's one thing you can do out there. And Koalas also has a second effect, which you can actually negate spells or traps by popping a dinosaur monster, including itself. You can also pop itself to send it to the grave for a double evolution pill, so you basically kind of get a +1 from it while you're popping something on the field and negating it. So that's actually pretty nice. Plus it's 2700 attack, which isn't bad, especially its defense being at 21. You could also special it in defense mode, that way you don't get Boral sorted, which ain't fun. It's not a fun thing. why that should exist, I don't know. But anyways, you're gonna also run 2 Pankratops. This is basically your Cyber Dragon of the deck. This will help you with your Lost World plays as well, especially if your opponent just does something on their side of the field. You'll be able to slap Lost World down, then slap this guy down, generate a token, be able to pop that token, get your Soling Oviraptor out, and then just go off from there. So it's a pretty wash, rinse, and repeat with that card. It's a pretty good, pretty busted, especially with a 2600 attack with the attack reduction of your opponent's monsters by 500. I mean, it has to be non-dinos on their side of the field, which is important, especially if you summon Dogeron on their side of the field too. Just want to make that clear real fast. But anyways, Pankratops, still really good. You could actually play this in any deck and still do pretty well with it, because you'll have a field removal tool, and you'll have a body on the field if your opponent does anything. Okay, and the next a few dinosaur monsters that are a little bit lower level are going to be your rank 4s. They're going to be 2 Giant Rex. This guy is actually pretty good in this deck because it'll help you facilitate a few extra summons as well to get into your extra deck monster plays, because you'll be able to banish it either with a Conductor or Evolution Pill, or even Miscellaneous Swords itself, so it's not too bad. The summon is once per turn, but for each of your banished dinosaur monsters, it gets 200 attack, which ain't too shabby. But the only bad part about this card is you can't attack directly, which usually isn't too big of a deal. You're mostly going to use this as Xyz fodder or Link fodder, so it really doesn't matter anyways, especially if you could just go into Utopia the Lightning, which I've done plenty of times with this. It's so good in this deck. Honestly, it's a pretty good body if you don't have anything else in the hand. I wouldn't imagine why you wouldn't have anything else in the hand, but RNGesus is not kind sometimes. So having this just as a body and to summon out a token really isn't too bad, especially if you could just smash into the token on your second turn. Okay, your next level 4 is going to be Miscellaneous Swords. Really good blanket effect monster for all of your dinosaur monsters. Again, it is a main phase effect. You won't be able to activate in the battle phase or anything else like that. Also, its summoning out condition is pretty cool because you could banish itself, and up to the number of other dinosaur monsters that you banish as well too, you get to summon out a dinosaur monster with that level. So you can easily get level 4s and your level 2s, even your level 1 out really easily, and just make extra summons happen while your board is basically protected as well too, because it's not actually too bad just to Foolish Burial this either, especially if you're in a pinch to summon something out. Okay, your next level 4 dinosaur monsters are going to be 3 Oviraptor. Like I said, it's a Armageddon Knight / Fossil Dig, and you basically run 6 copies of it in this deck. Well, technically 7, because of Foolish Barrel. Well, you could also argue that it'd pretty much be 8 because of Armageddon Knight as well too, so still pretty good. But anyways, on to your hand traps. Those are gonna be your Ash Blossom, and 2 Effect Veiler. I feel like this is sort of the better variant of hand traps to run with here, because you're gonna be able to pitch these very easily from the hand into the graveyard, because it's not only is it plays to stop your opponent from doing anything, it also gives you fodder for double evolution pill. So it has sort of 2 functions in here, and with this ratio, it seems pretty okay. It isn't overly clunky. You'll still be able to do a majority of your plays with sort of a lesser number of hand traps as well too. Mostly because you could bait out so many stuff, because you have so many starter cards in this deck. You'll be able to bait out different hand traps and different effects, or once per turn effects on here very easily as well too. And plus, I feel like Effect Veiler is sort of the underdog of hand traps as well too. It's not a once per turn on your opponent's side of the field, or on your opponent's turn. And also it gets around chain blocking because it targets a card, so that also gets around a lot of cheesy little chain blocking things as well too. Your one other level 4 as well, as I failed to mention, is your Armageddon Knight. I mean, it's in here, I mentioned it like 20,000 times. So, on to your little babies, your little baby dinosaurs. Look at how cute they are. Excuse me. But anyways, it's gonna be 2 baby Stegosaurus. These are pretty good for getting out your level 4s, and you'll be able to attack with them as well too if you really want to. You'll be able to pop these with Lost World too, because if your token is going to be destroyed at all by card effects or by battle, you can just pop one of these guys instead, and it's destroy, not send to the grave, because that's also important with the text of Baby Stegosaurus and Petite Pteranodon, because they have to be destroyed by a card effect, and they cannot be destroyed by a battle either to get their effect as well too, so you won't be able to trigger it off a battle, which is sort of like crappy, but it's not entirely too bad. So anyways, these will be able to get you a little bit more summons as well too, and it'll get you to your Oviraptors a little bit easier as well too. Your next baby is going to be Petite Pteranodon. This is also good here because I know it's sort of an awkward pairing of 2 baby Stegosaurus and 1 Petite Pteranodon. It's like, hey, why don't you just run the 3 baby Stegosaurus? And here's my explanation of that. Mostly because you can summon all these other guys out as well too, like your Pankratops or your Dogoron, if you really wanted to. Like, it's not a terrible play just to pop one of these, like for say on your opponent's turn, and summon out one of these guys, because this guy's a big body and these 2 guys are an interrupt, because his effect is a quick effect, and you could just tribute himself off and pop one of your opponent's stuff, like say in the battle phase or whatever. So not entirely too bad. Like, I actually really like running this at 1. And your last dinosaur that you're gonna be playing in this deck is Drac Alio. A lot of people run the other Drac level 3 card as well too. That's also fine as well. I find that pretty good. I don't run it in this variant, also because I feel like it'd just be too clunky in here, because it's just a card that does nothing. The tuners do nothing in here, so it isn't too important to run an extra tuner in here for this deck, especially if you can recycle this with also Oviraptor's effect to pop a level 4 or lower dinosaur on the field and then just summon it in defense mode as well too. Also, it's very easy to summon with Miscellaneousaurus, because you could just drop Miscellaneousaurus on your turn, summon this out by banishing it itself, and then all your dinosaurs are protected, and you can still continue with your plays as well too. So still very good. So onto our spell cards. It's going to be 2 double evolution pill, because this will get out all of your boss monsters. You'll also be able to get any of these guys out. It doesn't have to be just Tyrant, it doesn't even just have to be Coatless. If you're really in a pinch, let's say, and you don't have any other conductors, you could also summon these guys out as well too, because sometimes RNG happens and you'll be able to just lose out all of your conductors by some weird means too. Like, it happens, sometimes it happens, it's just an option out there. Also, you're gonna run a 3 Fossil Dig. And here, this is your searcher of the deck. You'll be able to search out a level 6 or lower dinosaur monster. Unfortunately, you won't be able to search out any of these guys super easily, besides soloing Oviraptor, which is, again, yeah, pretty easy in the long run. But you'll have to get this guy in the hand first and search out these guys with him, and not just with Fossil Dig. You're gonna run 1 Dark Hole. That's gonna it's basically a very good board clearer as well too. You'll be able to pop your tokens and then pop your own stuff and then make a whole bunch of plays happen, because Lost World is just that nuts as well too. You're gonna run 2 Terraforming as well, because why not? 1 Fossil Dig, 1 Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is actually pretty okay in this deck. 2 Called by the Graves, because hand traps sort of suck. You can run a 3rd one in here if you really want to. I just run it at 2, so it's basically 2, 2, and 2 of just interrupts or just protections as well too, for your plays as well. And gonna run 2 Twin Twisters, because this is a going second deck most of all. It does help you dump out your Quatlesses as well too, or your other stuff in the grave, especially if you have a double evolution pill in your hand. It's still really good, especially getting rid up to 2 spells or traps as well too, just by trading 1 other card. Still not entirely too bad. And then last but not least, in the main deck, it's gonna be Triple Lost World. Still, like, probably one of the best field cards around, mostly because of its interaction with the deck as well too. You could do so many other plays with this deck in here that's pretty nuts. Like, you could do a 1 card Trishula if you really wanted to. I could probably show you guys here later how to do that as well too. But onto the extra deck for now. You're gonna run 1 Link Rebo, 1 Reproducus, 1 Underclock Taker, just for the extra damage as well too. It's still really good just to smack over something by zeroing it out and then just finishing off game with Conductor. Same thing. Excuse me. Same thing with Decode Talker as well. You basically facilitate more damage onto the board just for game. It's also really good because you can tribute off one of the cards that it points to as well too. Negate activation. Still really good. Very nice. Summon Sorcerers is actually pretty okay for this deck as well too. Still, more summons. You know, why not? Your next one's gonna be Topological Trispania. Still really good in this deck by just clearing out of the spells and traps and doing a little bit extra damage as well too. All of these are really easy to summon because you'll be able to get 3 monsters on the board very easily, especially all your little guys as well too. Now next up is going to be your Xyz. It's going to be 1 Abyss Dweller and 1 Baguska. These guys are going to stop your opponent from doing some cheesy stuff as well. Abyss Dweller, in my opinion, is probably still one of the most underrated Xyz monsters in the format too, because it could stop a lot of stuff still. It's very easy to make in this deck. Still really good. Baguska is still really good if you have nothing as well too. You mostly want to make this if you just have a brick hand. You can easily swap it into attack mode on your turn as well too, to shut off the negate effect to just facilitate your own plays again. Still really good. You don't have to necessarily play this in the deck. I honestly replaced this with Mistworm in here for my synchro plays because why not, most of all. But anyways, onto the other XZs. You're gonna run one Dolka and one Logia. These guys are absolutely nuts as well too, especially before rank 4 or Master Rule 4. These guys were nuts, getting 2 of each on there as well. It's pretty nuts as well because Dolka is not a once per turn. You can also do something funny where if your opponent responds to this with a hand trap as well too, you can just negate the hand trap that's affecting Dolka as well too. So it's pretty cheesy because of the wording with it too. It's whenever your opponent activates an effect. So, and it's during either player's turn as well too. So it's very cool to just negate hand traps as well too on your opponent's when your opponent is trying to respond to something on your turn as well. Like I said, Logia. Then we're going to run the Utopia package. This guy finishes off games like nobody's business. It's super fun to just go into rank 4 and then going into game like instantly. Super fun still. Probably not one of the more optimal plays of here. You might want to just have just board protection, or you just want a negator onto the field. But anyways, onto the next thing, which is gonna be our Super Dreadnought Rail Gustav Max, which is actually really fun, especially if you want to rub the salt in the wound with your opponent as well too, because there is no better feeling in the world than asking your opponent, hey, what's your life total? I was like, oh, it's like 800, it's whatever, I'm gonna live next turn, I'm gonna come back, baby, and come back. Then you're like, main phase 2, overlay for 10, game. Yeah, because that is just the best feeling in the world. Resolved this a few times at regional as well too. I won out a few games against Thunder Dragon. Best spice in the world. Anyways, so your last synchro monsters are going to be High Speed Roy Chambara. This guy will allow you to attack twice, and it gets more attack as soon as it attacks as well too. This plus Conductor on the board. If your opponent doesn't have anything on the field, this is instantly game because it equals out exactly to 8,000. Oddly enough, it's like a match made in heaven. But anyways, your last card in the extra deck is going to be Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. It is still really cool to spam out this thing with this deck. It's still really fun to summon any level 9 in this deck as well too, because like I said before, sometimes I just run Mistworm in here just for the cheese, and I'll show you what Mistworm does. What Mistworm's effect is, if this card is synchro summoned, target up to 3 cards your opponent controls and return those to the hand. That is actually still pretty huge too, because that's 3 cards that you don't have to deal with on the board at all, even though they might be able to use some cards again, whatever, because you're just gonna be able to just mow over your opponent's board for the rest of your turn, especially if you have plays left, which if you're going to go big with a rank 9, or not rank 9, but a level 9 synchros monster, you'll be able to have enough materials in the grave to at least go into a conductor, so you'll be able to do a lot of damage still. Onto the side deck, you're basically gonna run 2 sphere mode, because clearing off your opponent's stuff is still pretty essential in here, especially if your opponent is running like double Colossus and Titan on the board. Still, you'll be able to clear this out in one shot, be able to facilitate your plays a lot more, so it's still very useful to have in this day and age too. You're also going to run a Gamma Seal, a Kaiju of the Sticky Strings, and a Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. that's still really good because you could pop your opponent's stuff and then pop your own stuff to facilitate your plays too. We're gonna have a facilitate a counter as well too, along with the counter as well, so it's gonna up the budget just a little bit, but we'll probably have a Patreon or some shit later on just for that budget alone. For nothing else, I could afford everything else, just the and the facilitate budget. But anyways, you're gonna also run 2 drone lock in the side. It seems to be a card that's only really good in the side as well too. It's good against Sky Striker as well too. This deck just has a good matchup against Sky Striker as is. If you just want to win more, it's basically a win more card. It's not entirely necessary, but it's a win more card, if that makes sense. You're gonna also run 2 Forbidden Chalice in here. It's basically an extra effect Veiler in here, still very good. It's an effect Veiler on your turn as well too, which is why I really like it. I don't like it in the main, obviously, because it's not a monster. That way I can just go off with double evolution pool onto the traps. It's gonna be 3-dimensional barrier and 3 red reboot, because stopping an overall powerful mechanic with some of the overall different meta decks, like fusion summoning with fusion summoning with Thunder Dragons, or your traps with either Paleo or Trickstar, whatever else runs traps. I can't think of it. Like, I can't brain today. But anyways, other powerful decks such as Altergeist as well, and even True Draco as well. It's still very good to just have this in your side deck as well. So that is it for the overall deck. I might have some gameplay with this deck later on as well too, but until then, be sure to like and subscribe if you like this deck as well. If you just absolutely hate this deck as well too, I'll probably have a link for all of the hate mail and death threats in the P.O. box. It's not my P.O. box, and that's the joke. But anyways, thank you for stopping by, and see you in the next video. Yeah, bye-bye.